It's like a pizza crunch without the batter. It's like the wood juice without the water. You'll never get the knickers off her. What a fucking chance. To premeditated batter. Premeditated batter.
But thank you for gracing my Patter Pouffe, man. How's your cell anyway?
Patter Pouffe, like, yeah. Aye, good.
Good stuff, mate. It's good stuff. You're probably the most successful person I've had so far. No, a slanting any guess, man. But yeah, recently you just had something like a programme appear on STV Player. Yep. Dirty Water. Can you tell us a bit about Dirty Water?
Well, so it is quite exciting. It's my first big project that I've managed to get out there. So it was really good that STV picked it up, but Dirty Water, I mean, it was originally a play. God, man, the first time we put it on was Cottier's June 2012.
Right, so it's quite old
in
terms of like, when it started to when it eventually reached television.
Aye, I mean, it's coming up 11 years this June.
Right.
So it was over 10 years to get it there. But, I mean, the play was one of the things. We first put it on the Coils, and obviously mostly it's like friends and family that come see it and all that, and it just went down an absolute storm. I remember them actually, because it was the first thing I proper invited loads of people to come see. That was in, because I'd been doing drama, I think, since 2008 or something, like doing plays and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
But I wrote this, and I was one of the main characters in it, and I remember taking, when it was a week of the show, I was like, I'll take the week off, and I took the next week off in case it was shite. But it went down an absolute storm, and like the reaction, that first night, I remember that first night, I couldn't get to sleep.
Buzzing at your nut.
Buzzing, it just absolutely hit, all the jokes hit. I remember and all, when I went back into work, like, the amount of people, I was like, the play was brilliant and that.
Oh, right, so getting a lot of feedback from the people in your work. Did they go and see it, I take it?
Aye.
Right. So how did it feel, see you actually perform in front of like your work colleagues, like your first thing, it had your name on it? What was the nerves feeling like for that?
I mean, I do remember, like, I've never hide with this one.
Aye.
I mean, if you act in a play, or if you do something that's shite, you're like, well, you know, you're just in it. Like,
you don't know any of the audience, but you're like literally telling people to come see you.
Aye, so that was kind of the first time I'd really done something. I was like, and it really, I mean, I remember Joe, who plays Crawford, and the first thing he said to us, he was like, his daughter came up to him and was like, Dad, more people need to see that play.
Right.
And it was funny. He was saying, in fact, a guy he knew and all that night was like, he goes to see a lot of theatre, and he was like to him after, he's like, do you know, because it was a bare stage really. We had a couple of steps and mops. He was like, do you know, there was nothing on that stage, but it was just brilliant. And so at that point, we did the on more after that, and then I decided, like, we'll go to the Fringe Festival. So we did the full month at the Fringe. That was quite a journey trying to get that and all, because we wanted to stay there. We hired out a flat in the Meadows to stay in Edinburgh for a month.
Ambitious.
And we had to raise quite a bit of dough, so we did for that. If I remember right, I think it was something like $8,000 to put that on.
Really?
Aye.
Because I hear that with shows.
And this is back in 2013, so it might even be deal. Probably be deal on
that. See, that's the thing I don't think people realise, that it actually costs a fair bit of money to put a show on the Fringe.
Well, we had it on a prime time slot right enough, because it was like 7:30 at night. So
right.
You know, so it'd be cheaper if you put it on at 2:00 in the afternoon.
Aye.
And then obviously the flat, we hired a flat. We managed to get a cracking flat in walking distance and that. So that was, I was just, the weather that year and all, every day with the sun was shining and that. I remember, like, so our day routine was like, we'd get up, I'd like go for a walk or a swim or something like that, and then we'd go and do a bit of flying, then we would do the show, and then we'd go out and party at night.
Aye.
It's like, I fucking get used to this lifestyle.
Aye, living the high life.
But that, I mean, before we went, obviously I'd never been before, so I was getting advice off a lot of people that had been. And I mean, consistently, just everybody was like, "Oh, just be prepared to perform in front of 2 and 3 people and all that." You know, because there's that many shows on. And
Aye.
Unless you're like the big names in that, a lot of shows you go into, there's not that many people
Quite
there.
sparse.
Aye. But no, we sold 78% of tickets, man. Like,
Did you?
sold
That's
out
amazing,
nearly
man.
every
For the
night.
first show at the Fringe, you know?
For a full month.
For a full month?
Aye, and that was mainly all down to word of mouth and that.
I see. Did you find, many people, was it off the back of your first show?
No, I don't think so, because, I mean, I did manage to sell something like 200 tickets in advance now. But over the course of a month, you know, I mean, it was only a 50-seater, so I think we done, how many shows we do? We must have done something like 20 odd shows.
Really? Was it a 20-show run? Or did you have breaks in between?
We took a Sunday off.
Right,
so we did Monday to
right.
Saturday.
So it was almost like a full-time job as such?
Aye.
Would you say that's like probably at the first point where you actually experienced acting as a job?
That was the first experience I had as, like, probably what it's like to be a real actor.
Right, so how was that
Perform.
experience? Did you feel at this point, this is me done it, I've made it?
No, I mean, look, I knew it was only for a month, you know, I was going back to work after it and everything, like...
reality was soon
I
beckoning.
wasn't like, oh, this is my new career.
Aye, fuck it, Joe.
I mean, I would love that, but no, it was just an amazing experience. But when we did that, like we just knew we had knew it was connecting with an audience and that, and so like the aim was to try and get it into, like, to make it like financially feasible. It needs to, you know, feel you need to be performing in front of a lot of people, so you do, or you have to be subsidised off like Creative Scotland.
Aye,
you know what I mean?
aye, you need some kind of support.
So you can't be, you know, going to run doing art centres and that, and especially when you've got a cast of 7 and all that. Like the money just doesn't split that well.
Paid.
So we managed to, after that, we're like, right, we'll take it on tour, and my ambition was to try and get it into the big theatres, you know, like the Pavilion or the Kings. I do remember I had a meeting with the Pavilion, but they never bit at it, so they did. I mean, I was like, to be honest, I thought the Pavilion would be the perfect place for it and all, with their audience. So we toured for a couple of years, like doing the kind of smaller venues and stuff, and then I must have been doing that for a good few years, and then the Kings came to see it, so they did.
Did they? Aye.
Aye.
So was that like a representative for the Kings that came to see it?
So
Really?
they came
Aye.
to scout it, so and they loved it. They were like, no, we'd really like you to take a show, but like the only thing is we'll need to recast it. And I was like, oh, is there something wrong with the actors? I'm like, no, it's nothing to do with any in particular actor, it's just you're performing like 200 seaters. It was like the Kings is a 1700 seater. If you want to sell this for a run, then you know you're going to need to have a name or something to, you know,
a selling point as such.
draw the audience in. Which actually, you know, I agree. I knew they were right, because that tour, the one they came seen, like it was hit and miss with some of the venues. So, like I remember the 200 seaters, between the 200 and 300 seaters, we would always do well. We'd always either sell it or get close to selling it out. But anything above that, and we've done a few 500 seaters, and we couldn't get the numbers.
Right.
So obviously they were right. You know what I mean? And that was really a decent bit of advertising, and we still couldn't get up to the numbers. So clearly, I knew what they were saying, they were right. But so now the question is, like, well, fucking who do I dump to try and get somebody in?
Right, so was it a possibility that entered your mind at that point?
Well, obviously, I just sat and I spoke to Joe. I was like, how the fuck can we do this? I was like, everybody's stuck together for 4 years. So I ended up just a message. I was like, well, I'm sorry. I was like, we've been doing this together for, I think it was like 5 years or something at that point. I was like, I can't do it. And so they actually bounced back and went, okay, well, we're actually still willing to take it on, but we just won't have a deal. I would have to hire the venue.
Right.
Like, so if you want to do that, you can do that. but the numbers were mental. It was something like $8,000 a night.
Was it? Aye.
Aye.
Fucking hell, so
Aye.
you're really needing to sell it out just to kind
Aye.
of make the money back.
So I was like, "Ugh, no, we can't do that." And then
Aye.
that's when I kind of thought that was the end of it,
Right.
really. And then I was working on a different project for about a year, and then I can't remember how it came about, but Dirty Water started getting spoke about again. The BBC were looking for new shows. That's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody that knew Gavin at the BBC had recommended Dirty Water. It was something like that anyway, but we get some meetings set up anyway.
Right.
And we went in, and because actually the play was 4 boys. So it was, the 4 cleaners were 4 boys. It was actually in that the BBC meetings they were saying, what about having a lassie cleaner, you know? And I thought, you know, that'd be really good to change the dynamic and that.
Mm-hmm, totally.
So actually that came for them, but they didn't want to say it in Glasgow. I think they were suggesting like Inverness, something like that. And I think they were really looking to find a show that wasn't based along the Central Belt.
Aye. To kind of attract a lot of wider audience as such.
Well, I think they'd been at that point been taking a lot of criticism because from that seems to be the only place they make Kings.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's how they were just trying to kind of spread their productions out, something like that. Anyway, I mean, I don't know exactly the details, but I remember that being said to me and the main. But anyway, nothing came of that, and then I was sitting thinking, and I knew we had an investor we could go to for some backing. So I'd came up with this idea. I was like, instead of doing a film, which was something I was on track to go and do, I says, why don't we do the Dirty Water TV series, even if we just do 3 episodes, and we'll package it like a pilot package.
Right.
And I'll get it out there on the telly, and then if it does well, we'll hopefully get it picked up and move on to more seasons. There was a few people like, nah, it doesn't work like that. Like,
Who was saying that?
No, just some
people,
friends.
some
friends. Some friends in the industry.
People
They weren't. It's not like
they weren't casting doubt on it. They were
no,
just like, that's not how it works, mate. They're just telling you a bit of advice.
But I knew other shows that had done that. No, really out here. It's not something I don't think happens over here, but definitely in America, there's been quite a few things that were made independently first, and then it got picked up like off Netflix or some other TV channels. There's a couple I know of. And in fact, there was one, American Vandal.
I don't think I've seen that.
It's on Netflix. That was like an independent thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then Netflix picked it up, threw a bit of money on the back end of it to bring up the production. So I knew it was something that could be done. It wasn't that commonly done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I managed to convince my backer to give some money. I was like, we'll make 3 episodes, and we did it. It was a bit mental, but
see at that point you said you got a financial backer. Were you already in talks with STV at this point, or were you just like, I'm just getting financial backing to make this, then I'm going to try and push the idea to somebody?
Yep. So there was no agreement with anybody. In fact, the only people we'd spoke to prior was obviously the BBC, but that was just initial meetings. That wasn't they never green light anything like that. But that was really when the thought process of doing Dirty Water as a TV show really started, because obviously I'd been speaking to them about it, and we'd wrote like quite a bunch of episode scenarios and that. So I think we wrote like 6, so we did, and then I knew, but I was like, well, if we make them, like the thing is these days it was different, before the streaming services, because you had you had 5 channels, and then even when Sky came out, all right, but it was actually still quite limited. But now these days there's that many streaming services, there's just an absolute demand for content.
Totally, and they're looking to pick up a lot of stuff as well, because it's a diverse range, man. You're going on to like Netflix and you're seeing like Scandinavian TV dramas.
And the fact is, you know, TV channels buy other stuff, other content. I mean, that's how we get Friends out here. Like Channel 4 never made that, so they bought it.
Aye.
So I knew there was a I didn't know the ins and outs of a process of channels acquiring content, but I knew that's people's job.
Aye.
So if that's somebody's job and we make something of a high standard, then there's a way of getting it in there, right? So it's just working it out.
Aye, no, of course, it's having that faith as well. But I suppose that it is a massive risk at that time, as you see, you're getting financial backing, so you're like, right, fuck, I hope this fucking pays off. So see, at the point you made it in that, what kind of, see, translating it from a stage performance to an actual TV series or like a couple of episodes, what was how did you find that, like trying to navigate that? Did you find there was difficulties you encountered?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I went to film school, and although I've generally written, generally the stuff that's been produced that I've wrote has been in the theatre, I have written a number of film scripts.
Right.
So actually, I don't know if you meant in the question in the writing sense, but no, it wasn't really that. It was just obviously try to come up with storylines and like try to format it into like a 30-minute slot, and then at the same time, I know the risk is because there's ideas, right? So for instance, one of the ideas I was floating to get more money, I know, was product placement, right? But I don't know if that would have really worked anyway in an independent sense, because the whole point of product placement is like getting sponsored. Like, so I don't know.
Advertising based.
Aye, so let's say when we go to the pub and we just order tenants, maybe we get tenants to throw us some money. But the issue with that is like, because we don't know the home, there's some channels, like say the BBC, if we done that, then the BBC wouldn't be able to pick it up because they're not out there.
End shooting yourself in the foot.
Aye, so that was kind of one of the ideas I was thinking about. I was like, we actually can't do that because we don't know who's going to be interested in buying it. And imagine how bad it would be if like the one channel wants to buy it, isn't it allowed product placement
so
or something.
That's another thing you have to incorporate in filming it.
So that was some ideas we were throwing about, but so we couldn't do that. But we managed to get 90 grand together. I'm sure, I'm trying to remember how I came up with that number. Do you know what it was? I'm sure when I had the meeting with BBC back then, there was something about the budget, and I remember asking, and I'm sure they said 33 grand an episode or something, which is low budget. So I think that's how I was like, you know what, we can do it. 30 will be enough. We'll make it. And so it was just kind of choosing what episodes would be good to write, and to be honest, like the hardest one was the first episode. I mean, I'd episode 2 and 3 well written long before I'd settled on
right
the first.
I see.
Aye,
so what was the difficulties with that?
It was just such a challenge, man. It was like the pilot, you're trying to introduce everybody, start the story, and I'm telling you, I wrote something like 7 or 8 different pilots, like for the first episode.
Really,
aye. And then but I knew so that was the one that took ages, and I kind of feel like that's how, because that was one of the things somebody said to us, and I was like, why don't you just make one episode, put the full 90 grand into one episode, and make, a really high production whatever. And I was like, I mean, how many pilot episodes are the best episode in sitcoms?
Nah, very rarely.
There's not that many that they're the most memorable anyway.
Nah.
So that's how I went, and that's how I wanted the day 3. I was like, well, that's just enough yet, because the whole point of a pilot is it's like a sample in it to see if an audience connects with it. So I wanted the day 3, so it just gave us a bit more breathing space for an audience to connect with it. I've totally lost my train of thought.
No, because we're talking about when you went to get some financial backing and that, and they give you 90 grand, and that, and 90 grand is seen as like a kind of for a low budget production. But it's just, I found that strange, because I would think like 90 grand's a lot of money.
Sounds a lot, but it's no.
But apparently, and especially over 3 episodes, because I don't know, I heard that Still Game, an episode of Still Game's upwards of like 300,000, which is fucking insane. It's an insane amount of money, and you wonder like, at that stage, when you get, because you think once you've got the financial backing, you're like, we've done it. But I suppose that's when the real work begins, because you need to go, right, where do I put this money? What do I sacrifice? What do I spend it on? How did you manage to solve they kind of issues?
Well, the thing is, I knew I had when you're getting people on board, like the way I seen it was like, look, all we do is be honest with everybody, right? And at the end of the day, there's a wee bit of a carrot to dangle. So we were kind of going to everybody because we couldn't afford to pay everybody all the proper rates and that. So I mean, everybody done it at a cut rate, everybody, right? So, but the thing is it was we'd scheduled it. It was only going to take 2 weeks, 17 days to make it, right. 15 shoot days. So you're just talking just there 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. So we were able to pay people something decent, but it was like everybody took a pay cut. But at the same time, you were like, look, this is what I'm trying to achieve. What I can promise is we get this made. I'll find a way to get this on a TV channel. Whether it gets picked up, I don't know. But if it does get picked up, this could be something that we all get 4 or 5 years out of now.
Start something great.
It could be, exactly, you know, so when you consider that, you know, people are like, you know, all right, you know, fair enough, you know, it's, I think that's how most people were like, you know, it's worth a roll of the dice for the sake of 2 weeks work, you know.
Of course.
And we managed to get a lot of really talented people on board with that. And then we get... You know, there was a lot of favours and all. You know,
a few funny handshakes.
I mean, we get quite a few locations for free, stuff like that. You know.
Where did you shoot it?
All in Glasgow, really. We went to the high flats. The stuff in the actual high flats is in Wishaw.
Right.
Other than that, just about everything was in Glasgow. The bookies this was actually quite good because East Kilbride Arts Centre and East Kilbride Village Theatre are 2 venues that the show is performed at. The theatre show is performed at like 4 times or something, or four different years. Excuse me. And the last 2 days of shooting, we were shooting in East Kilbride Village Theatre. We turned the box office into the bookies.
Right.
So when you go in the bookies, it's actually the box office at East Kilbride Village Theatre.
That's fucking mental.
And it was quite something, I don't know, something a wee bit poetic about finishing the shoot there, because that was one of the earliest places we'd done it. I remember me, Bob and Joe on the stage, like we weren't filming a scene, so we were through in the theatre and we were on the stage acting out some of the theatre scenes. So we were, so it was quite nice.
Nice wee cherry in the cake for you.
It was. It felt like a full circle somehow.
How we doing, Shaggers? Sorry to interrupt. I just love interrupting, but don't I? Hope you're enjoying the podcast, and I hope you're enjoying me enjoying the podcast. Do you love the podcast? Do you love me? Well, love us together. Please help us out. Right now, I work a typical job. Not a very typical job, but it's typical in the sense that I don't want to work it. But I need to get some income into this podcast, man. And I've been doing this for a long time. A fair bit of time. I've put time and effort into it. I've put long hours into it. And I do, I enjoy it. I love the fact that you love watching it. I love the fact you love being a part of the family. But I'm asking for your help. I'm asking just for a wee donation. And don't feel that this is a play or anything that you need to give me money to watch it or enjoy it. All I'm asking for is the price of a coffee. Just give me a coffee. Would you get us a coffee? That would go a long way. If one person was to get me a coffee for every subscriber, I could put a lot of money back into this podcast. I could get a better standard of guests. I could get better equipment, give you a better quality show. And that is the dream, innit? Turning more passions into careers. But that's all I ask for. Price of a coffee, a couple of quid. If you can manage it, I know these are troubling times and they're very hard for many people, so don't feel compelled that you need to give me money in order to enjoy the podcast. I love the fact that you enjoy it. If you can't manage it, that's fine, but if you have a wee bit spare, there's a link right there. Just click it and donate. It goes a long way. I hope you enjoy the podcast, people. It's an absolute pleasure. After you'd finished the filming, I imagine when it went into production, at what point did you manage to get it to gain traction where it was picked up by a news channel? Did you? A media channel, should I say?
So that's it. Now we've got it wrapped. The post production was a bit drawn out, but again that goes into your budget because obviously we didn't really have financial muscle to just batter it out in a studio.
Right.
And then everybody had to go back to their own jobs. You know?
Back to reality again.
So, I know. So that kind of took a wee bit, but once we had it ready, then right. So now the thing is like, how do we get this to the TV channels? Right. Now, this is quite an interesting how it turned because I'm actually quite savvy at finding email addresses that belong to people. Like, I mean, fucking.
How so?
Like, so there's just ways. Like, for instance, content acquisitioners is I know who I was trying to track down for different channels, right? So I managed to track down loads, Amazon, Channel 4, all different people, right?
Right.
The thing is, nobody was responding, right? I was like, fuck man, I'm trying to work out, right? So they're no bouncing back. So I'm saying, I've got this new sitcom. I at least had a trailer that showed that it was a high production value, but I didn't even know if they were looking at it. But I wasn't getting any responses. So now I'm like, right, I'm going to need to go to a festival, right? So I'm trying to scout TV festivals. I know Edinburgh had a TV festival. I looked at that. It didn't quite feel the right one I was looking for. And then it was a producer that I'd met in London. So when I studied in London, I worked in Costco as well.
Right.
And this lassie came through my till and she was buying loads of sweeties and juice and all that. And I said to her, I was like, you must throw the shitest parties ever. Right? She looked at me and she was like, what? I was like, where's all your booze? And she's like, oh no. She's like, I'm a movie producer. It's just snacks for on set. And I was like, oh yeah, I was like, I'm at the film school, right? So we got talking and she invited me to come work on a film. It was like this.
Just off the back of this conversation?
Off the back of this
Fucking
conversation.
hell, man.
So,
That was the best shite joke you ever done in your life.
I know. It was just a production. It was just a runner. It was just a runner on set, wasn't it?
It's still getting involved.
It was a film called Jack Says, something like that. Danny Dyer was in it. It was one of the ones.
Really?
Right?
Never heard it, man.
It was one of the, fucking kind of gangster, London gangster
Obviously,
type
it's
things.
Danny Dyer, innit? Did you meet Danny Dyer?
No, Danny Dyer wasn't on set any of the days I was there. But anyway, her name was Patricia. I mean, she was lovely, really funny, and there was a few things like that. And so I ended up getting her a Costco card. So I did, right? So
obviously greasing her pants.
Because she was using somebody else's Costco card, so I should have chinned her for that, but I didn't bother my arse. But anyway, I gave her a Costco card, and we would randomly have the odd wee message here, but I hadn't spoke to her in like 10 years.
Right.
And I'd noticed she just sold a film to Netflix. So I was like, I'm going to chance my arm and send her a message. So I was like, hi Trish, I don't know if you remember me, it's been a long time, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, aye, of course, Nora, aye, how have you been? It's great to see you've done something. And we got talking, she was like, well, I'd nothing to do with that side of it. She was like, so I don't really have a contact to pass on to you. I was like, and she was the one that suggested to go to MIPCOM. I'd never heard of that. It's
MIPCOM?
MIPCOM.
What's MIPCOM?
It is the girl you get the Cannes Film Festival.
Aye.
Well, it's a Cannes TV Festival.
Right.
And it's one of the biggest TV festivals in the world.
Right.
I'd never heard of it, but excuse me.
No worries.
But when she told me that, we only had something like 6 weeks notice or something. So I looked at it and we sent it to get submitted and we could get approved, but it was going to be costly to go, right? It was going to cost us a few grand. So anyway, but after speaking to them, so I wanted to really know how the festival works and stuff like that before I forked out this cash. Now, how they are, and I was really impressed with him because when you get registered with him, there's like this kind of, it's almost like a social media backed channel set up, and everybody who's gone, and just about everybody is gone there to sell content and buy content is registered there, and you can get their email addresses and you can contact them, right?
I see.
To set up meetings. Now the thing is, so once I was registered with MIPCOM, I was like, I'm going to get back in touch with all these people that have not responded to me. And the difference, when I was saying the title was MIPCOM and my subject, because maybe these people aren't even reading my emails, I don't know. But when I was saying MIPCOM, I was like, I'm going to MIPCOM with my new TV show. I was getting responses right away.
After the same people that hadn't replied?
So
really?
just the fact that I was in there, that actually started to help with getting the responses. And that's basically how I ended up in conversations with quite a few channels, but how the STV came about is I noticed the STV was going there, but they were only sending one person over, so I forget the lady's name, but I'd emailed her and she didn't have time to meet me, but she bounced it back to the other people back at the and STV got in touch, and we had a meeting with STV before we even went to MIPCOM.
Really? Aye.
But it was after the back of being registered with their system was how the conversation started with them.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, quite early on, we're like, we've definitely done the right thing registering for this, and that was a really kind of eye-opening learning experience to do with distribution and stuff like that. That was a fantastic learning experience going over there, and it was great for meeting people. Made a lot of contacts as well. So the thing was, before we even went, it was me and Joe was going to go there at Place Crawford, and we were talking a lot, and I was like, you know, domestically speaking, I was like, you know, it would be great if, obviously, something like Netflix, because you know they've got a lot of financial muscle, right? But I noticed they were the only people wanting to go into MIPCOM.
That's strange, that.
But they're quite elusive.
Do you think it's feels they've probably get so many people like, sending stuff in, or they maybe get
they
scouts
must,
and that kind of stuff?
I'm not sure what their process is, but they obviously have a process. But but when I was talking to Joe, the 2 years had a good feeling right for the word go, for the first meeting.
Good vibes.
When we had that meeting with STV, it was a guy, Jonathan, we were dealing with, and they were just really enthusiastic about the project. And STV don't really do that much comedy, so it was going to be a wee different thing for them. And to be honest, I just, right early on, I was like, I think that might be the best place for it. But we went to the festival, we spoke to other people, and we had another credible offer put to us anyway.
For another TV channel? Can you say who it was?
Yeah, I guess I can. I think so.
Where were they based?
In the UK, aye.
Scotland or?
No, it was BritBox.
BritBox?
Aye.
Oh, was it? Aye.
Aye, so it was BritBox. We were having, that was kind of another advanced kind of fans talks and that, and not like what their offer would be. So we had something to compare.
Aye.
Financially, it would have been safer taking the BritBox.
Right.
But what's it, talking about it, and we did have a good time, a few weeks thinking about it. Like, what is the best thing to do here? Because obviously, people that watch STV, they want to watch Scottish stuff. So, and one of the best bits of advice I got when I was in at the festival, so we got quite lucky with some of the people we met. And I got introduced to this lady, Karen, who has a distribution company, but she deals in reality TV.
Right.
So it was not anything she could help us with. But we met her pal at a party, and then so she introduced us and sat and gave us a lot of advice and stuff. But one of the things she said to us, and it stuck with us, she was like, because we were taking meetings with people from Canada and Australia and different stuff like that, and she was like, the fact you don't have your platform yet, she's like, your sole focus should really make sure you sort yourself out domestically speaking, find your audience at home first, make sure you get that, because if you get that, you can grow it. She's like that. So, and that kind of stuck with us, and that's how, when we were sitting thinking about what's the best place to do, I was like, well, really, like, STV, if we've got a chance of connecting with a Scottish audience, I mean, what's on the table, STV's definitely the better option, I felt anyway. So, yeah, that's how we ended up on STV.
So you jumped with STV. So after that, that's when they decided to distribute what you had made and that. What was the initial reception when they eventually put it out?
Well, this is a thing, man. We're kind of sitting in a wee bit of limbo because I don't know. You know, it's I just came out the 1st of March there, so we've not even done a month yet. But they did a good job. They've got behind it. They've done a lot of promotion for it. And it's great coming on here, getting a chance to speak about it as well, because we need to keep pushing it.
Totally.
But STV are basically going to give me monthly reports. So, you know, I don't know until I get my first report.
So you've not even had your first report yet?
No, I won't get my first report to sometime in April, but hopefully the numbers are good.
I can imagine they are, because it's as you say, it's a Scottish comedy, and you find... See, there's not really much like that. Even like in Scottish telly, I don't find anything like if you do get the odd bit. Like I think the last thing was Still Game. Correct me if I'm wrong if there is anything else, but I've not really seen it.
There's Two Doors Down.
I told 2 Doors Down. That's a word I don't really watch telly much, so that's
2 Doors Down, and the Scotch Squad's just finished, I believe. And I think there's another show, The Scots, that's running. So you're right, there isn't that much. It is challenging to get stuff made in Scotland. It's just, limited, funding
That's
opportunities.
it. There's not much of a creative infrastructure up here.
It's getting better. There's a
no,
lot
definitely,
of
it's just
opportunities
growing.
coming, definitely. And there's a lot of talent up here. So, it's hopefully it's just the start.
Hopefully it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
See, the idea for Dirty Water, where did that first manifest?
It was actually Bob.
Right.
Bob, how did it initially come about? Bob had sent me an idea, right? I'm sure he called it Dirty Water as well. But it was based on a cleaning company that he worked for. And I actually know a couple of pals that worked for it as well. Right? I don't know if I can say what the cleaning company is, but it's a cleaning company in Glasgow that clean clothes. Right?
Right.
If anybody...
Is it 3 letters?
Aye.
You do Marcos. I know exactly what it is.
Right, so he worked from, I had a pal Johnny, it worked from a pal Chrissy, it worked from, I'm sure I had a couple other boys I know it worked from, my boy Chris from Mary Hill worked for them. So it was kind of that, right? So I was writing, I'd just started writing at this point, and he'd kind of had the idea. So I remember, God man, I remember writing episodes that were fucking, this was before I even went to film school, writing them on a Word document. It wasn't even like an actual real script writing program. I think I wrote something like 6 episodes. I wonder if I'll be able to try and find them. They'll be in some hard drive somewhere.
Hidden for the world.
Aye. Anyway, so that was kind of the idea, and I was saying to him, but I was like, can I run with this? Then I got to film school, and it was in film school. One of my mentors was like, try and get a TV idea. Like, TV can be a bit more bread and butter if it gets picked up. It's like films, sometimes a film can take 10 years to put together or whatever.
Aye, a lot to go into the budget as well, and that kind of thing.
A lot of hangway, so like it's hard unless you're really at the top of the tree just to be turning out films every year. You know what I mean?
Aye.
So that's how that was. He said. So then I kind of remember writing like a TV Bible for Dirty Water, and I'd wrote. I think I'd wrote a pilot at that point and all.
See, sorry, what's a TV Bible?
It's kind of when you write, I don't know. I don't really know how useful they are. But you write like your character bios, a bit of their history, maybe the key locations, because it's a sitcom. Most sitcoms tend to have like 3 locations. You know what I mean? Friends, the apartments, the coffee house. You know what I mean?
Aye.
They're just the same. Look, Still Game is obviously the pub, and the Vids.
Aye.
It's like the same locations, like the key locations. You know what I mean? Kind of write that. You maybe write a wee maybe a story, the season storyline, stuff like that. It's like a treatment document. It's like a detailed treatment document. So I wrote that, and then so that's kind of how the initial idea had developed. So it's actually Bob's idea. I just stole it. I just wrote it.
At least you're honest about it. That's amazing.
But I'd obviously, excuse me. I don't know if I should say this, but I will. But I remember it because initially what happened is I'd moved back to Glasgow after London, right?
Right.
So now I'm back in Glasgow. I get no money. I don't have any contacts or anything like that. But I'm writing every day and stuff. And it was actually a boy in my work says, I go to this thing called Write Camera Action. So I go, it's like a networking event, actors, directors, writers, whatever. And that's how I met Joe, plays Crawford. So I went the first month, the first time I went was just to observe. And basically you submit these scripts, it gets attached to a director. The director works with actors for an hour and then they perform it to everybody.
Right, I see.
So that's how it works.
Right.
So I submitted 2 scenes out of Dirty Water, the TV pilot that I wrote in film school. And I knew right away I wanted Joe to play Crawford when I seen him. So that month we get submitted, I get tagged up with a director, Bruce. And Joe hasn't showed up. I was like, that was a wee baldy guy, no, that he's perfect for this, I'm telling you. It's Joe. waiting. I says, just wait to the last minute. He comes in just as we're about to go in. And I'm like, there he's there, grab him.
Fashionable,
So, aye, and then Joe was saying I didn't even want to do it that night, but Bruce was like, no, Joe, you need to do this, you'll really like it. And that's how I met Joe.
Right.
But initially, in the so what happened was it got performed, and the jokes were landing, it was hitting me, and I just knew, because I'd done plays before, I just knew I can write this as a play, and I knew how to make theatre. You know, with theatre, really all you need is a venue, you know, and then if you've got a venue, you can put a show on. Mm-hmm. So that night, talking to Joe, it turned out he was from Milton, I was from Milton. I says, look, I've got an idea to write this as a play, would you read the script? And he was like, aye, write it and send it to me. So about a month later, I sent him the script. And he was like, this is a diamond, man. He was like, he got it right away, he knew. Mm-hmm. He was the one who was like, this is brilliant. But anyway, initially my character was called Bob.
Right.
And Bob was called Jock. Right. So I get the cast together. And right away I go to Bob. I went, Bob, I'm doing the Dirty Water ideas of a play, right? So he agrees to do it. So he's playing Jock, I'm playing Bob. I mean, we're playing the same characters. It's just the names. My character name was Bob, but he was Jock, but he was still nicknamed the Shagger. You know what I mean? His character was always that character. But I had this opening speech, right, in the play, and I say a bunch of stuff, and Bob comes up to me and he's like, mate, that's a bit close to home. I was like, what? Because I was saying stuff that was relevant with him and his ex-girlfriend. No, I didn't mean it like that, but that's...
Did you know about it?
No, I did know, but I didn't mean it like that now. But he was like, my fucking ex coming to see that. She's going to think you're writing that about me and her. And I was like, oh, what do you want me to do? He went, can we change names? So I then became Jock and he became Bob. Right. And that caused havoc in rehearsals for about 4 days because everybody was
I just forgot
confused.
Aye,
Jock
fuck's sake, man.
Aye. Mad.
It's mental because I've not done the clothes cleaning, but I remember working I'll name the company Divide. They're fucking scumbags. They work at
Divide? That's not a company.
No. I'm not naming that company, but I'm naming this company I used to work for, so I can attest to working these mad jobs, because they used to get you to clean, like new builds after they were built in a building site, and you'd go in and clean up after the fucking the tradesmen and that, man, and they were scumbag bastards, man. Oh, I hated them, but see the amount of content you could derive for that kind of thing. It's real life breeds the best of content. You probably can attest to that.
Aye, well, that's that mixed with me working in Costco and all, there's a few things.
Oh, defo some comedy gold in there, isn't there, man? So, you come from Milton. See, like the kind of environment you grew up in. Is it attuned to the kind of life you live now, or do you come from quite a chaotic environment, but like growing up in quite a rough place like that?
Well, I mean, I don't know. In the sense that, like, well, I never had drama at school. You know what I mean? So.
You talk about drama as in the subject or drama at school?
No, well, it was always drama, but...
So I had to be clear there.
No, I didn't even... See, when I think I was like... I mean, I think my primary school, it felt like a good primary school. My secondary school was clearly a fucking dump.
What one did you go to?
North Kelvin side.
Yeah, where's that? I don't know.
No, didn't it?
Oh, that's it, fuck's sake.
I think it was a juvenile centre, man. It was a fucking... When I think of it, I was like... I mean... we never even had vending machines, man. Like, it was pure.
That's a mark of shite school.
It wasn't until like third year I remember telling my pals, like, we get vending machines in our school, and everybody was like, we've always had them, like but I didn't even know you could do acting, because I think I would have loved that if I could have. I never done it when I was younger. It wasn't something that was open to me. I didn't get into it until I was like 20.
Really? How did you get into it?
That's that bit of a story, right? I fall into everything, really.
Right.
That's the truth. But what had happened was, I've always been a bit of a daydreamer, and I love films. So I remember when the UGC opened, the Cineworld, it was called the UGC at the time, and it was the biggest cinema in Europe, and you could buy the cinema cards, which you can still get today, but it was like $9.99 a month, unlimited. And I remember I got that, and I would go to the cinema 4 times a week, easy, just go and I'd see everything, and I would always come out like daydreaming about acting and films and all that, and so I decided to join an agency. I've told this story before, but so I joined an agency. I got one gig after them as an extra, which was I'll never do that again. But it was on a film called Danny the Dog. I think it was called Unleashed when it came out, and it was Morgan Freeman, Jet Li.
Oh fuck! I remember that film.
Hopkins.
Aye,
Right.
on the cover you think, oh, these kids are in this, will be down. I think it Jet Li's got a fucking dog.
Aye, he plays he's like a guy that's been caged all his life or something.
Aye, he's like a dog basically.
Aye. So the initial title was Danny the Dog. Danny the Dog.
Who did you play in it?
No, I didn't have it. I was an extra. I was
Just
just
an extra.
a
Did you not
background.
get out like just a background part?
Aye,
Did you get a
just,
spoken
I
word?
walked past him. I remember on the street that, so that day it was Jet Li, Morgan Freeman, and I forget the actress that was in it, but it's a three of them walking down the street and they're kind of teaching him how to tell the time. And I'm dead tall and I swagger right past them. So I knew I was like, I'm definitely going to see myself. Because I remember when it came out and I was telling everybody and I went to the cinema to watch it and they cut the fucking scene.
Oh, what man?
But that day, man, I managed to talk to Morgan Freeman. Just stoning and chatting. It was only for a couple of minutes, but I was telling him, this is my first thing, you know that. I was like, I'm just trying to get into it. He was like, oh, that's good. And it was him that said about getting an agent. Well, it was like what do you call it? Something manager, talent manager, something like that. But he was saying like an agent to hang me. So I was like, right. So it was after back talking to him, I went and bought this book, Contacts. Now I can't remember how I worked that out, but and I don't even know if this is still a thing. But you used to get a book called Contacts, and it was like a phone book for people in the industry, casting directors, agents. Shit like that, right? It was just like a phone book, man, and it told you what they done and their services, whatever. And there was this particular agent, I don't know why I kept attaching myself trying to get a hold of this guy, but excuse me, I was phoning him up to try and get him to take me on as an actor, and I could never get him on the phone. And the receptionist said, no, he's not available. And this was going on for a few weeks. And what happened was a family member showed me an advert for autumn auditions for a film in Glasgow.
Right.
So I took that autumn advert, and phoned that agent. I said, hi, this is John from whatever that production company was. Can I speak to Michael? And she was like, oh, what's it regarding? And I said the name of the film.
So were you just blagging it then?
Aye, pure lie. She's like, okay, hold on. So she's obviously phoned through. She's like, it's Guy for fucking Pingme Productions. Want to talk to you about funny? But I put him through. It was obviously about actors or something. So they put me through first day. So I start talking to this guy. And I'm just babbling. And he's like, John, I'm sorry, like, I need to interrupt. He's like, what's this got to do with whatever this film's called? And I goes, well, to be honest, mate, I'm lying. I've nothing to do with that. I'm just an actor. I've been trying to get you on the phone for weeks and you won't take my call. And he burst out laughing. And he was like, all right, wee man, fair enough. He's like, where did you study? And I was like, study what? He's like, acting, where did you train? He was like, oh, I didn't know you could train. He was like, right. He says, maybe you should go and do that first and then phone me. I was like, right, okay. Where did I go for that? So he was saying, well, you can go to the RSMD. And I had heard of that. But then he said another place, and then he said Stowe College. And like my simple gold mind brain's like, oh, Stowe College, I drive past that at Cookhaddons on the 75. You used to see the big Stowe College sign. I went, I'll go there. So he's like, all right, mate, good luck. So he's let me know how you got on. So I then go into I go to Stowe College, and I remember getting in the building and getting the brochure with all the courses, and there it was, HND, acting and performance. And I'm talking to the lassie, and I was like, yeah, I want to apply for this. She was like, right, okay, you need to do 2 contrasting monologues. I was like, what's a monologue?
You're just learning on the go with this.
So she's like, it's a speech. And I was like, what, for like a film? She's like, aye, but it can't be for a film. Right? I was like, all right. I knew I was sounding stupid, but I remember thinking, well, what the fuck else can it be for? But so then I then go find 2 monologues somehow off the internet, and I'm learning it, man. And I remember on my way down to the audition, my pal Richie phones me and he's like, you nervous? And I was like, nah, man. I was like, it's just like telling a story at a party, be easy. And I go in, and there's 3 women that are taking the audition. It was Brenda, Mary and Emma. Brenda and Mary were teachers, and Emma worked at the admin side of it, all right.
Right.
And I started doing a monologue and I absolutely freeze. Like, I cannot remember any of these fucking words. Nothing's coming out. I'm like saying a sentence. I'm like, can I start there again? I must have started there about 4 times. And then I'm like, oh, look, I'm sorry. And then I'm like, right, try your other one. Same again. I was like, I'm sorry. Can I just tell you some jokes? Right? And their faces were like, who the fuck is this? I'm like, okay. So then I start telling jokes. And all I can think is football jokes. I remember...
Pick your audience.
I know, man. I remember telling a joke. I'm sure I must have stole it off Lee Evans, if I remember right. But he's like, did you ever notice like a football bench is like a bus stop? He's like, and you always see them standing up looking on a watch. Right? Not even a sympathy laugh, right? They're just staring through me, right? What is this? Right? So I then go, I'm like, I'm sorry, that's all I've got. Right? And so fucking, they're like, right, you're clearly not ready for this course. They're like, what we can do is we'll put you on the waiting list for the NQ Theatre Arts, right? So I didn't even get in, right? So the NQ Theatre Arts is the year below. It's like the introductory course before you go into the HND acting. And it was the day I got a phone call. I remember I was lying in bed, man. The phone goes, and it was Emma for the admin. She was like, "Hi John, this is Emma for To." She was like, "Somebody's dropped out and there's a space available, and you're the first person I thought of." Right? And I was like, she says, "Do you want to do the course?" And I went, "Aye, of course, aye, no, absolutely. When's it start?" She's like, "Tomorrow." Right? I was like, "I'll be there." And she's like, "One condition." I was like, "What's that?" She's like, "No more shite jokes." And the part of it, these shite jokes were probably the thing that made her remember me.
Of course, man.
But I didn't even get into that course. I was on the waiting list.
Thought you go into the waiting list, but at least you still made it onto the course. That's fucking hilarious. See, actually just envisioning that should definitely make it.
I can still see their faces like that.
You can make that into a sketch, man. That feels...
staring through me like, who is this idiot?
So how was your experience like going your first day into like this introduction to acting course?
I loved that course, man. Like everything changed for me at that point. Because my world just kind of opened up to different people and all that, and it was, I loved it. Absolutely loved my time at the college, to be honest. I wish I could go back and do it again.
No, really, aye. One of the best days of your life.
It was great. To be honest, I wish I took it more seriously at the time, but it was just... I still have quite a few pals for that course. Mm-hmm. I've stayed that became close with and still in my life. That's... Leah wasn't in the NQ, but Leah that plays Sharon in Dirty Water, that's how we met. She was in my class when I went on the HND.
Right, I see.
Bob, that's how I met Bob. Bob was at that college. He was a year above me.
Right.
When I seen Bob act, I always thought he was brilliant. I was like, I always wanted to work with him. And how we became pals is, so he stayed in Post, so I stayed in Mountain, but we used to walk the same route to college. Mm-hmm. And we started talking, so we'd walk each other pretty much every day. Mm-hmm. Excuse me, to college, and that's how we became pals. But I still have close friends that came for that.
Because it's people that are of the same mindset as you, and you are both going through the learning process together. So, and you're with the people day in, day out. Mm. So it's only natural you find people you develop an affinity with. See, at what point did you start taking interest in writing?
Again, this is something else I fell into.
How'd you fall into this? Face first or not? Any shite jokes get you into this?
So what happened was, this was... Year 2, we had to do a device piece, a 20-minute device piece. We were put into groups. And I remember getting put... it's funny how things work out. I remember getting put with Hazel and Jane, right? And my flatmate, Gordon, who was in my class, he get put with Emma, Anya... was it Leah? No, I can't remember. There was 4 of them, but it was all like... Now... the stronger performers and all that. Right. And I remember I was like, you fucking got a cracking group. So, and it's me, Jane and Hazel, and we're trying to come up with ideas and nothing's happening. And I remember growing a bit of a rant with Gordon, and I was like, fucking, I'm getting shagged up the arse. I was like, I'm writing a sketch about that. So I ended up writing this 20-minute piece, right? And it was like this guy cheating on his wife, but he got in marriage counselling, and the marriage counselling stuff, I mean, there's probably some jokes that just would not get away with anymore, but
Oh, really?
but I mean, it absolutely landed. Like, the place went mental. We laughed at it, and I remember it was Dave Bennett, it was like the course leader. Did you write that? And I went, aye. And he went, you need to start writing. And I never thought anything of it, but he said that to me, and it wasn't until after the course I went to America, did a bit of travelling, and it was when out there I started writing it. I remember I wrote a short film called Consequences. And I really liked that script, you know. I still have that.
You went out to America?
I was out in America just travelling.
Right.
Went to LA, hang me. So I wrote that, and I'd arranged to have this made. I was working with, it was through my pal Kev, knew a director, Tony Downs, I'm sure his name was. But we were planning on making this short film early space of a week, which was, when I think about it, man, it was a really ambitious. It was like a 30-minute short film. With no money or nothing, but I remember I'd booked locations and all that. And then Tony got sick. I was only going to be back in Glasgow for a short period of time, then I was going to London. And that's when we were meant to make that film. So it fell through. Anyway, long story short, the film fell through. And then I moved to London. I was sitting there. I was like, what the fuck, man? What am I going to do? And I was doing there, got to auditions, trying to get in stuff, right? And I was having no luck. I wasn't getting it. And then, or I would see an advertisement for something that looked really interesting, and then I would get a script and it just wasn't interesting. Or, and I know it's probably a weird thing for somebody that wants to do acting, but I've never really had an interest of just playing a part for the sake of playing a part or chasing adverts and all that. I've never really had that side in me, and that's probably how I've never had an agent.
Right. I know, just do it and just want something you can connect
I just want to
with.
do something like that. Me. So I'd obviously had this short film. So I remember Googling script submissions, and then it came up film schools. And so I was like, oh fuck it. So I submitted it to these film schools, and I got offered a place at 4 of them.
Really?
Aye.
Brilliant.
And it was a Central Film School when I went there, but like the guy, it was Ashley Musgrave. I mean, he really wanted me to come to this school. He liked my script, and I don't know. It was just I just now. He made, well, I don't know if he did it for every student that came through the door, but it certainly felt like he was making a real effort for me to come here. So I was like, I want to go there. That's fucking like, and it was the best thing I ever did, because he was like, you've got. So he really believed in my writing and that, and then I got that was another incredible year for me when I went to film school. So I got in there, right. So again, I've stumbled onto writing now, and I was staying in Essex working, and fucking I wasn't happy. I went fuck it. I moved back to Glasgow. I was accepted into the film school, but I had 6 months before the course started. So I moved back to Glasgow, and I remember, I mean, it was my man's birthday on the Saturday. I was starting the course on the Monday. I was moving down on the Sunday. I had nowhere to live, hadn't had a flat organised, nothing, right? So I go out, it's my man's birthday. I end up hooking up with my cousin's pal. Went back to hers. I then come back home to my man's to like 4 in the morning. My bus is leaving in hour, like 4 hours. I've not even packed. I've not got a place to live, and I start college. I start uni on the Monday.
Fucking hell, man.
So fuck man. So we get the bus down there. Now this is before smartphones, right? I've got a hotel booked for the first night. I'm like, right, I'll stay at a hotel the first night. I'll go to uni, and then I'll find a place to live after uni. like, and I was so, do you know, because that's what I did in LA. I went out to LA when they were to live, and day one I found a place to live.
Did you? How did you manage that?
It was on Coventry or something.
Oh, was it?
Aye.
Somewhere popped up. I
Something
suppose
like
if you're in that desperate situation, like I'm either going to be homeless or if I find somewhere, so you're going to.
Because I remember when I flew, when I was in Miami first, right, seeing a pal, and I stayed there for 2 weeks, and then it was like the day before I flew out, I messaged a guy, or it was the day of I flew out, so I got a flight out, and then on the shuttle bus, this shuttle bus was taking me to this guy's house in Granada Hills. And this family, I end up getting talking, like, I've always just been one of these people just fucking fall on their feet somehow, right?
Aye.
But this family, I was talking to them and I'm telling them my story, and they were kind of wrapped up, and I was like, aye, so I'm just going to go, and they were like, who's this guy? I was like, I don't know, no met him. And they were like, what? I was like, aye, I phoned him yesterday, says, aye, there's a room there. So they ended up, they were really nice, they were like, look, we pull up to the house, right, when I'm going to see this guy, says, we'll tell the driver to wait. If something doesn't feel right, come back with us. Right, they were going to put me up. But no, sure enough, it was all above board and all that. Was
the guy brand new?
I was brand new, and I moved into this nice house in Granada House.
Fucking hell, man.
Had a gym, a pool, everything.
Shut up, this guy. Who was the guy?
His name, he was an Argentinian guy. Oh, what was his name? But it wasn't just me, it was like several rooms and different people.
Was it kind of like an Airbnb thing, or was that this guy's house?
I mean, it was his house.
Well, what was he up to?
He just rented out rooms. He had like a bunch of rooms, and he rented out rooms and beds.
So that's how he managed to kind of sustain that house by renting out rooms. So
I guess that was like his income. You know what I mean?
Right.
He was a cool guy. Mm. Pool table and all that. So there was.
Oh no!
It was mad, but it was an experience. Anyway,
great experience, man.
Anyway, so that must have been how I was like, I can work it.
So I'll just find another man who cut me a big house.
But it did not go down like that, man. So my first day, I get the bus down to London, get the train to where I'm supposed to be at. I've got a printout of the map of where I'm going. So this is before smartphones, right? And I'm trying to fucking find this hotel, right? And I've got my pal Kev on the phone. So he's got the wee headset and he's on Google on his PC, and he's trying to guide me to find this place, right? And it's getting dark. I'm fucking walking about. And I remember at one point, he's telling me to walk down a street. I was like, Kev, I'm in between high flats. I'm in a scheme, mate. I'm walking about with a suitcase and laptops. I'm going to get lettered. Find me somewhere. Right? I can't find this fucking hotel. I don't know. I must have got off at a rang stop or something. So he directs us, end up coming across like this boarded up place, bang on the door. It's a homeless shelter. And I'm like, have you got a room? And they're like, this is a homeless shelter, pal. I was like, right, I'm not homeless. I was like, and I tell him behind me, I was like, if you've got a room, I'll hire it. Can you give me something? I was like, it's getting late, man. I was like, I'm walking about here. So they gave me a bed in this homeless shelter my first night in London for 20 quid.
Because you couldn't find the hotel?
I couldn't find the hotel, man. It was getting late. It was about 11 o'clock at night, man.
Oh, is that? Aye. Fucking hell, no kind of thing you were kicking about that.
So they let me stay in this homeless shelter. My first day in uni, I rock in suitcases. Like, it was fucking this place. And then it took me nearly 3 weeks to find a place to live.
So what were you doing, staying at this homeless shelter?
No, I couldn't stay there. It was only one night. one night I slept in the streets. One night fucking... first couple of nights I was in hotels, but the hotels were like 130 quid a night and all that.
No cheap.
Like, I didn't have that much money and it was running out fast now.
Aye.
And I never had a job. So, and then was this guy pretending he had property, but he was just trying to pump me.
Shut up.
Aye. Fucking,
how did this come about
right,
then?
I find this, I'm searching places like Gumtree, and I can't remember the websites at that time, but I'm looking for somewhere to live.
Aye.
I come across this guy who's got a property walking distance for the college, right? And it's affordable. So I'm like, talking to him on the phone, I'm like, I need to ask, why is this so cheap? He's like, I says, who's staying there? He's like, no, it'll be just you. I was like, how's that so cheap? And he was like, that I've just bought it, it needs renovated, there's work going to need to be getting done. He says, I would expect you to be doing things like painting for me. And I was like, well, that sounds fair. So, but the guy didn't stay in the centre of London, right? Didn't stay in London, he stayed just outside of London. So we're texting back and forward, and I'm speaking to him. I'm on the phone. First night I was on the phone to him for about an hour. And then after a couple of days, I'm like, what's going on, man? Like, I need to get in this place, I've nowhere to live. and the text messages start getting weirder. He was calling me, he was saying, calling himself master. And he was calling me boy, right? Boy master, right?
What kind of shit was he writing?
Oh man, I'll need to ask Kev time. It was like, because I was sending them all to Kev. I was like, that's fucking, what's he saying? But at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to fuck this up. I need a place to live, right? So it was getting weirder and weirder, man. And I remember he sent me a picture message. Now, at that time, like, I had a wee flip phone. You could take a photo. And I was like, why do you want a picture of me? So I know what to look for, because I was meant to meet him. And I went, and he was like, you're not here. And he went, oh, something's come up. It was dragging on. So this was on for like 4 days, right? And then I remember at the point, I went to the address where the place was supposed to be, and it fucking wasn't a flat, it was a shop. So I phoned him, I went, mate, I'm outside this address, there's no flat. I was like, it's a shop. So he said, oh, it must be, say it was 256, maybe it's 265, I can't really remember, I've not got the paperwork in front of me. I was like, right. So I was like, I was like, this is fucking getting a bit weird. And I remember the time I was walking down Brick Lane, he sends me a text. He said, it was something like, master, the man's boy, to do this, something like send a photo, or check master out at, and it had a link. But obviously, so I send it to Kev, right? I'm like, what's this link? And he fucking clicks on it, and it says it goes to like this kind of gay leather latex, a guy bent at a bike and all that, and spandex and all that. He's like, mate, he's like, what I'm looking at, right? He's describing. I was like, that motherfucker.
Was it him?
It was him. So I was like, you're a fucking piece of shit. I was like, you've been dragging me on for days. What the fuck is this? Then he called me fucking homophobic, man. Fucking hung up. I was like, you bastards. So eventually I ended up getting a place with a Romanian gypsy.
Fucking hell, you landed on your feet there then. How did that come about?
That was rough and all, man. That was a bit of rough living.
I can
until
imagine.
Eventually I met these really good people that had a room. Gahindra, Rashna, Amari, Thomas, this Polish guy. It was, and when I got settled there, I was like, all right, I'm finally in a nice place.
Mm-hmm.
Aye.
So how did you end up getting in touch with the Romanian gypsy?
It was just through one of these websites. A room
And
was
what was it like staying there?
mental, man.
What kind of shit was going down?
She had hundreds of pets and all that. Right, so I love cats especially, right? So she was breeding wee kittens and selling them, but she wasn't feeding them right.
Mm-hmm.
She was just giving them a bit of dry food because she didn't want them shitting. So they were always hungry, right? So I started sneaking them cat food.
Right.
But fucking, she's like to me, stop feeding the cats. I'm like, I'm not feeding the cats, right? But when I walked in the house, I was like a Pied Piper, man. All the cats would just follow me on the weekend. Like me, pure jailbait, right? I'm obviously feeding them. And so I was sneaking them food and all that. And I remember, oh man, right? So I ended up getting a job back in Costco. So I'd quit Costco, right? I wasn't. And then what happened was, I've moved in, I'm running out of money fast, I need a job. And I go to a party through in Essex with the people I worked with through there. Right. And they're like, oh, Serge has moved to Chingford in London. Mm-hmm. That was the boss. And Serge was pals with Darren, who ran the Glasgow warehouse. And when I moved away, Darren told me, if you ever need anything, go and see Serge, he's my pal. Aye. So I went into Costco to ask like for my job back, and that's how I ended up working back in Costco. Sales gave me a job, and my rate was down low and all, man, because I was just restarting. But within 5 months or something, he made me a supervisor, so it put me back up to that rate and all that, and took care of us. Anyway, so this one particular day, so what my day is I'd get up and I stayed in the south, Tooting Broadway at this point, right? I studied in the centre at Brick Lane, and I worked in the north at Costco in Chingford, right? So I got up in the morning, go to the gym, both centre, go to uni, finish uni, up to the north, fucking work to 10 o'clock at night, whatever, and then have to get the train all the way back down to the south, and when you get in, like 11:30, some shit, right? And I was fucking knackered this day. It was a summer's day, right? So I've left my window open, and the woman's left the toilet window open. So the cats, I've went out that window, along the ledge, into my room, hunting for food, the cat food, ripping the bin apart, shat all on my bed. Just hang me. I came in at 11 o'clock at night after a long fucking day, just choking to lie down, and my bed is just covered in shit.
Oh,
I was a wee
my
bit.
God.
I think I was like a wee bit of karma for feeding me cats. But I fucking, so she was a bit mental.
Did you end up going like, alright, I'm fucking out of here?
I was
man?
always looking for another place, but
Aye,
then
so that was
eventually
never
I
permanent.
stayed. But I must have stayed with her for a good 4 months or something like that.
Fucking 4 months you managed.
Aye.
Suppose that it beats fucking mad guys trying to fucking call you boy and master you in it, man.
Yeah, another 2 weeks in the street, I'd have probably went with it.
Oh, fuck it, grab your bike, mate. So see, how did you end up meeting? Is it a family you moved in, or was it like a couple of lodgers?
No, it was just friends that were living together. They were all flatmates. I think they all met when they worked at McDonald's together or something, but they all had different jobs at this point.
Right.
But it was a home, man. It was a good house. We had a nice. It was tidy. It was comfortable. We had a nice living room, dining room. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They were good. They were really good people. I was lucky. I managed to get in there with them. So I think they had a small room that were just to try and alleviate a bit of pressure on their rent.
Aye.
So that's how I ended up.
And it worked out for you.
It worked out for me, but aye.
So how long did you spend in London?
Couple of years.
Oh, was it a couple of years? So long did you actually spend at the film school?
Just it was I did 2 years.
Was it a 2 years period, and did you
Aye.
stay in London after it had finished?
No,
Were
it
you
was,
trying to find work in London? Because London seems to be the kind of epicentre in the UK of the kind of
Aye.
creative industries.
No, it absolutely is. And it would have been a choice to either stay there, but to be honest, man, I was homesick.
They were all.
And I used to I always every time I come back to Glasgow for the weekend or whatever, I'd always kind of get just an exciting feeling like. So I was like, nah, I want to get home. That's where I belong. So after, because I'd met somebody quite special down there and on, but that wasn't really working out. She was going away travelling and all that and on. I was just like, it's time for me to get home. Aye.
So what did you get up to when you get back home? Was the plan right? I want to kind of implement what I've learned down in London.
I used, I was so disciplined at writing. All this stuff is growing in now and the producing stuff, man, it has really flipped things upside down, and my writing disciplines went out the window now, so that's something I really need to try and tune back into. But I used to write every day up, couple of hours every day, a day about writing. And I was a fast writer and all. I mean, I wrote a first draft of a play at a weekend one time and all.
Really?
I was in that zone of writing, and that was something film school done for us, and also obviously structure, writing. I was doing a bit of writing nearly every day. 6 days a week, I would be doing some writing.
Can I ask, what is your writing process when you actually sit down to write something, or what was it when you were at your peak?
I would still use this process. It's all about trying to find something, and I've done a lot of seminars and master classes and stuff like that with other writers, and people have different processes. I certainly, for me, when I know my ending, I know I'm going to write something strong. Like, if I know how I want something to end, all the best things I've written, I've knew what my ending was, how it was going to end. So the thing is, normally when you get an idea, oh, this is a good concept, you can start it quite easy, but somewhere in the middle you kind of get lost at times.
Aye.
But for me, when I know my ending, I'm not going to get lost. I know what I'm aiming for. So once I work out my ending, I tend to kind of try and then write out bullet points, like the journey, or the plot line, stuff like that. And then I just start chipping away at it scene by scene.
Right.
And somehow some things just end up clicking subconsciously and all.
Aye, sometimes you just enter the flow state.
Yeah.
What inspires you in your writing? See, you write plays, do you enter it with a certain idea or concept or that, or do you just put pen to paper and just go with what comes out?
I normally need something to grab me. Like, obviously, Dirty Water, I can't remember how I came up with the initial idea for the play, because I just knew I just remember, like, I'm going to write this play. I can't remember which actually sparked me, but I knew how to end it. I knew there was 2 monologues. I knew how I wanted to open it and end it, like, in a similar fashion,
right,
like a similar
right.
style of monologue. But things like there's a few things I've got an idea to know, so I've no got this. I've no got it sat down to start writing it. But that came from It came from something. Most things come from other people. Somebody will say something and it'll
just
spark an
trigger
idea.
something.
This my pal Fergie said something to me and it's just triggered something that was sitting marinating for months, and now I've got this concept for this film that I want to write. So I've just started writing notes. So what I'll tend to do is I'll just write notes. But for instance, I wrote a play, The Point.
Right.
So how that came about was, so this just shows you kind of different ways ideas come. But I had a friend, Rebecca, who great actor. So she has she at the time she was like, I'm always getting cast as like middle class kind of
Typecast.
So she was like, I want to do something kind of gritty, something rough, something dead Glasgow, right? Going to write something for me. So I wrote this monologue, this prostitute's monologue, right? And I gave it to her. But it fucking, just that kind of triggered this idea about free prostitutes.
Free prostitutes?
Free prostitutes, it's about these free prostitutes.
Free prostitutes?
Aye, no.
I thought you meant free prostitutes. No, don't pay them money. That's what I was like.
No.
That's a dynamite idea.
Only a guy would come up with that. So it was these free prostitutes, like streetwalkers now. I wanted to set it in the 80s, early 90s, because I wanted it to be before the internet.
Right.
So, because obviously, like these days, everything would be done through the internet, you know what I mean? Like, it's no... well, I imagine there's not that many places. There's like designated areas you go and get a prosy. You know what I mean?
No, times have changed.
Right.
Times have changed.
So that was kind of the setting. I remember saying it to her. I was like, I've got an... So I gave her the monologue. She fucking loved it. It's like, this monologue's brilliant. I was like, I've got an idea, but I'm floating about these free prostitutes and how they work this area and how they interact and their lives and all this, right? I didn't really have a story, I just kind of had this concept. So I think I picked up for another writer, Douglas Maxwell, who's a really successful playwright. I went to one of his seminars, and what he does is, for a new idea, he always gets a new kind of jotter, new diary.
Right.
Just for writing notes,
Aye.
anytime something comes. So I was like, that's a good idea, I'm going to do that. So I did that, so... Like when it was time to write The Point, I had a folder, a A4 kind of paper pad, and I had wrote The Point on it. And it's any time I had an idea for a line or like just a wee thing, I was just scribbling away. And I was scribbling away at it for months. So I had months and months of notes. And then what happened was, and it was funny, the stars kind of aligned with this, because one day I was sitting and the final line of the play came to me, right? I knew what the final line of that play was, and I wrote it down. And as soon as I wrote that, underlined it, I went, that's how the play ends. And then it was 2 days after that, Rebecca phones me, and she's like, John, see that idea you had for the free prostitutes, if you still going? I went, funny you say that. Aye, I've been writing notes on it for ages, but I've not wrote it. And she was like, they were doing a uni project, and they were meant to be doing a play. But with 4 of them, but one of them, the disagreement with her, one's dropped out, so now they're looking for a play with three female actors. And so she phones me, she's like, how soon can you write our first drafts? Because she was like, what, if you write it for us, we'll use it as our uni show. I said, oh, brilliant. When do you need a first draft for? And she was like, Monday, and this was Friday. So I was like, fuck it, aye. And I sat in that weekend and wrote the first draft of the play, but I'd already had loads of notes.
Aye, so it was structure in it.
Aye, and the first draft, was only about 40 pages or something like that, and it was holes and all that, but I'd wrote like those scenes I knew. I was like, oh, this is a scene, and monologues and the characters, but I wrote that play in the space of 2 weeks or something, because like the deadline.
The deadline.
Aye.
So was that would you say that's your first play, like that was actually performed?
No, Dirty Water was the first play. That was my second play.
Oh, was it? I forget how long Dirty Water actually was.
But so it's just I guess there's different ways ideas come to us. But my process is just to try and... I don't like to overindulge fleshing too much out, unless there's a certain thing I really need to go into. But generally speaking, like, I kind of, as soon as I know my ending, I know I can work out how I'm going to do this.
Is there certain formulas or rules you stick to? Like some people, I know certain directors that maybe say 1 page is one scene. Stuff, kind of stuff like that. Have you got
Well,
any kind of mantras like that?
No, not necessarily. I try and. No, I would say, like, I mean, when you go to film school, they teach you, there is formulas to writing a story, 3-act structure, stuff like this. But they even tell you that at film school. I mean, it's like, look, it's like playing football, right? These things. So if I pass you the ball, you know, you don't think I need to turn my foot sideways to collect this ball. You know, you instinctively do it because you've been taught to do it. And that's how a lot of stories, the tools for story writing is supposed to work and all. Mm-hmm. Subconsciously, you should know how to apply them. You don't really sit and think. I mean, if you're sitting having an issue with a script and you're trying to pick it apart, you'll maybe pull the tools out to try and work out what's going wrong. But generally speaking, you don't say, right, I need to have my exciting incident by the third page or something.
You just
generally
can
know.
act as a guide if you're needing it, but if it's not,
you know how you need
as you like.
Aye, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm,
or at least that's how I see it.
So see, since then, how many plays and such have you written? Because you've created your own production company, and you've got a list of feature productions, and they range from theatre to film.
Yeah, so I mean, so there's Dirty Water. We've done a lot of these shows. The Point, which is a play that's a wee bit cursed. So it is.
How so?
Well, we did it that night for the uni project, and it went amazingly. And I got a lot of really good feedback on that because it was a serious piece, you know. It wasn't a comedy. And then what happened was it was going on at the Archies, so we had it booked in at the Archies Theatre,
right?
And the Tron were coming to see it, so they were. And I remember fucking 3 days before we opened, that's when the Archies went into administration. So it was.
Was that? Aye.
Yep.
Fucking hell, man. So that just totally.
And that would have
been
been a beautiful venue for it because they had the brick was under the tunnel and all that. And the odd time the train goes past. I mean, the aesthetics for the play, because it was obviously these prostitutes who walk the street. It was perfect
that
venue
kind of
for it.
Setting.
Aye. So then we went to the Fringe with it. And that was a slog. It was just and a couple of times I tried, and then there was an actor from a theatre group in New York that had seen it at the Fringe, and they wanted to do it. Right. So I remember at one point we were working with him, and they'd done a table read, and I've still got their notes and all that, and it's just this thing. Then COVID came and on. Nah. It's just this thing. It's not had its chance out there, actually.
And
it's
the ball
actually
starts to roll, something
goes wrong with it, aye. There's a few times I've had meetings about bringing it back, and it's something that's sitting there, and I need to do something with it because it's a really good piece. It does need a little bit of development. So there's that. I did a play, Tagged, that done really well. Did that, a wee run of that at the Fringe. A bunch of short films. I've written a few feature films that have not been made, and obviously I've written the TV show. But what I really want to do is get back into the discipline of writing. So I've done, especially in the last few years, producing's became more at the forefront. You know.
Mm-hmm. Have you done a lot of the production yourself?
Yeah.
Everything
I've done, I've produced.
Have you? So what kind of?
There's a few short films. I haven't produced a few short films. I've had about 3 or 4 short films produced in Hong Kong, weirdly enough.
Really? Aye. How's that? Is that just where the production company's based as such? Or?
I was a filmmaker who was at the film school in London when I was there, so that's how I met him. Right. And he liked my writing. Right. And so I've got like 3 or 4 films that were made in Hong Kong.
Yeah, and were they hanging with? Were they ever shown in Hong Kong?
Aye.
Really? What was the reception in Hong Kong?
I've no idea. No idea. I never flew out for them.
Get a flight out to Hong Kong if people recognise you, you've done well.
But aye, fucking.
So see, is there a theme to the kind of stuff you create? Or does it touch on like how you view the world, or is it your own life? Is it interlinked?
I guess there's always elements of that, but yeah, I don't really. No, I mean, I definitely, at least in the films I've written, which have yet to really be produced, not being produced, there's certainly that element of redemption and all that that's a theme. But no, I don't tend, or at least I don't think I have a go-to thing. I don't think anyway.
It's not apparent. It's maybe if it's laying in your subconscious, it's not, you know, making a conscious effort and kind of try to portray that kind of theme.
Yeah.
What are you hoping to achieve with your art?
Oh, see, to be honest, man, at this stage, I just want to make a living at it now.
Just turn it into
That's
a job.
it. You know what? Getting older, and I'm certainly at a crossroads now. It's getting to that time now. I'm 38 this year. Having the energy of working a full-time job and fucking doing everything you need to do to bring these projects together, it is a lot of work.
It's quite taxing.
And it just gets to a stage, and you know, it's been costly in some elements of my life. But you know, I love that. That's what I want to do. And really, at this point now, I'm trying to just segue and actually, whether before really, it didn't really bother me working, say, in Costco to have my money, because I would always pick the projects I wanted to do. So even it's not just things I've written that I've produced. So there's other plays, passion projects like The Dumbwaiter, God of Carnage, and other plays that I really like. So, and after the pandemic, I swore, I was like, I'm doing one play every year, a play a year, just even if it's not to grow my career, if it's just my own creative, feeding my own creative need. So that right now I'm in the process of trying to get the rights to do Misery as a play.
Right, is that Hangway book, Stephen King?
Stephen King book.
It's a really good book.
So I've spoke to their agents. They've sent me a play version of the script. So it's not something I've sat down and kind of worked out yet. So that's possibly going to be it. If no, I'm going to pick something else. I'll definitely put a play on. But that's just more. Like I need to do something each year, you know.
You're still bringing it to life.
Before Dirty Water came around, I went like 3 years without. Don't get me wrong, I was writing a lot and I was working on a lot of stuff, but I hadn't produced it in 3 years. And you feel like, fuck, 3 years has went by and I've not done nothing. I mean, I had done a lot of work, I had nothing to show for it. So now I'm at a stage where it's like, you know, it's not about, at least not for me, like, becoming famous and, you know, making tons and tons of money out of it. Like, if I could make the same money I make in Costco, like,
I'd be a happy man.
I'd be a happy man if it was doing something like that day. So, really, it's it's about trying to segue into doing this full time. No, that's really the ultimate goal. Of course, the more success you get, the more doors open, the more opportunity, and the easier it is for funding and to make things, to produce things. But yeah, I think it's something that I'll always do. I can't see myself quitting it. What it's really about is to get a healthy balance, because I don't know if that's something I've ever really had. So it's just try, and that's how, if I had a job that, you know, you were kind of involved in it, it would be a lot easier to find a healthier balance, work-life balance, you know.
No, of course, especially working at Costco, it's quite a demanding job, especially working night shift as well, because I work night shift and I wouldn't say mine's is quite a physically demanding job, but it's just taxing working the kind of unsociable hours and the lack of sleep you get. It fucks you right up, man. See, so what are your plans going ahead? You've says you're possibly going to adapt the Stephen King novel Misery into a play. Have you got anything else? Or anything else in the periphery? You can chat about?
Well, I'm currently speaking with a director and a writer about a short film. I'm actually meeting with a few other writers. So I'm hopefully be producing a short film this year. Again, I'll be producing a play at some point. I've not decided the timeline for that yet. And obviously I'll need to wait for these numbers to come in for Dirty Water to see how that's doing, because that might guide on what's going to be the next step with that. And like I said, I'm trying to find a kind of a way to segue into doing this kind of stuff full time, you know.
So right now it's just trying to turn it into the full time living.
Well, I mean, it's kind of something that's the forefront of my mind now. I do have a feature film that I'm going to start writing, so that's probably going to take me 4 to 6 months to write. I would imagine so. That's how with a short film. That's not something that I'm want to write. I'm want to work with a writer on that.
Right.
But I'm going to be writing a feature film. I've already kind of got a strategy about how to get that made once the script's ready.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be... Why do we do this to ourselves?
It's about that delayed gratification, innit?
I know.
At the time, it's the long, arduous process, because I've never written something to that degree before, but I can imagine it is. It's a lot of self-doubt you need to overcome, and plus there's a lot of bang your head against the wall moments.
Yeah.
You've probably banged your head against the wall fucking for many a year in your lifetime since beginning it, man.
Aye.
So right now, it's been great having you on the podcast, man. It's been really, really inspirational talking to you and hearing your stories and that, and how you came a long way from like starting out just telling Lee Evans jokes at an audition to now having your own spot on STV, man. So, and I've watched it, I really enjoyed it. It was good to see some kind of Scottish comedy on the telly, especially with people I know, because obviously I know Tom and it's in it and all, so it's always good to see that as well. So have you got anything else you'd like to promote, man? I'm just a bit wind
Well, I should punt the show.
You should punt the show. Get people to watch the show.
So it's on Dirty Waters on the STV player. It can be streamed at any time. It was on the main feature bit, but it might be segueing off that now. But if you just go to the comedy, it'll be
aye,
top of the list, I would expect.
Man, Dirty Water, it's only 2 words you're searching. Where can people find you if they want to go and check out your other stuff?
Oh yeah, so we've got Facebook, Dirty Water Official, Twitter, Dirty Water Show, Instagram's I Know a Guy Productions, and I've got my website, iknowaguyproductions.com. So yeah, if there's anybody out there, let's go some work.
I know a guy. But it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, man. And definitely I'd like to get you back on in the future to see. Hopefully next time I see you, man, you've turned this into a full-time living. Hopefully you're not too busy to come back in the Patter Pouffe.
Absolutely not. I'll be here anytime you'll have me.
I like it, mate. I appreciate you coming, my friend, but it's been an absolute pleasure. Catch you later, people. Like, subscribe, and don't get wide.